Peace, 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 peace. This is Chocolate AMUN-RA in the morning message. Before we get into the morning message, everyone, you know what we have to do. Let's pay all due respects to the Creator. The sun rises. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. Amun. Peace, 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 peace. Peace to the brothers and sisters. Peace to the gods and the goddesses. Peace to the kings and queens. All right, this is Chocolate AMUN-RA and the morning message. Morning message this morning is, who are you? State, fact, who are you? Some people state they're African American. Some people says they're African. Some people say I'm American. But guess what? You've been given names over 300 years. Even though you ain't been on this planet for 300 years, but your ancestors has been here. And this is how you got here. So through history, our name for the melanin race has changed. And we just adopted the names and we just keep rolling with the punches. But in fact, in 300 years, if your ancestor was here in America, born and raised in America, for 300 years, your family, tree line, is an American. So I want somebody to clearly tell me how in the world you're going to adopt African American when the word African American comes from Jesse Jackson. If anyone remembers when Jesse Jackson quoted, "We're not niggers, we're not black people." If my memory serves me correctly, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But I know Jesse Jackson was one of the ones politically stated we African American. But why? Why do we have to adopt Africa? We don't come from Africa. That's just happened to be our origin. For 300 years, our families fought in wars, battled to live here on this country. We are Americans. What happened to the indigenous melanin people that was already here? The origin before it was taken. Raped, privileged, stolen its resources, and now we call it America. When the indigenous people was here long before the Irish, the Polish, the Chinese, even the African slaves that was brought here. I mean, if we want to think twice about it, the Irish, the Chinese, to Poland, they wasn't born here. Their ancestors come from whatever their family was born 300 years ago, 400 years ago. From Ireland, Poland, China. But how come they don't state that their adopt/goes, I'm Ireland American, I'm Chinese American? They go, I'm American. I mean, people with common sense going to tell you, I'm American, point blank. All this adopting another fucking country for what? We wasn't born in Africa. Look at our features. Just look. We don't have that type of melanin skin. Our melanin skin is much lighter than African people. The way our body shape is not like African people. Now, our origin is from Africa, and in case, in fact, all human beings owe the respect to the origin of Africa, which Africa, the name, is not even correct. We should be saying Ethiopia. We should be saying Kush, because we're basically saying the name comes from a European soldier, or general, if you will, Africanus. And Africanus was a Roman who conquered parts of Africa. Brothers and sisters, gods and goddesses, and kings and queens, we just follow names that they just give us. We just follow every little thing they give us. Listen, it ain't just black people now. Well, I don't even like using the word black no more. That's why, if you notice, I'm saying melanin people in my post, because the black is a word, is a color code text. You go in a dictionary and they use it in so many different terms. Read it. They use the word black almost in an evil content. Look it up. Remember, I always tell y'all that do research. The word black in the dictionary is using, in fact, talking about in the darker continent of Africa. Black is evil, darkness. It's a bunch of bullshit. They put up what they want, and guess what? Everybody in the world follows it. Well, not everybody. Let me rephrase that. You got too many people that follow things that they hear and they read and believe that is so. So going in to the future, I think so many of you need to recognize this. You're an American. You're nothing else more than American. Okay? If you were born in here, in this country, 52 states, your family born and raised here in America 300 years ago, 400 years ago, you are an American. The only reason why Jesse Jackson stated that we was African American, so what he did was, at that point in time, because we was called niggers, and a lot of y'all probably not born to know this, or a lot of y'all, if not ignorant, and not to disrespect you, but sometimes ignorant is not a bad thing. Is that you don't know, you wasn't paying attention, and if you don't know, you wasn't paying attention. So guess what? You don't know. It's not in your mindset. But Jesse Jackson called the melanin race that was here in America, that lives in America, African American, to give us an identity. And then guess what? It felt good. It felt good giving us that type of identity. It did. I remember. But I also was feeling a little bit uncomfortable, because while we need to be called African American, not to state I don't want to be African, but I was born in America. My mother was born in America. My father was born in America. So why I have to be African American? I mean, that really is something to think about, everyone. Because people who was born African, put it this way: the people who was born in Africa, not born in Africa, their mother and father was born in Africa. They came to the United States. They had a child that was born in America, went back to Africa 10, 20 years later. The child is a grown man. Should he call himself American African? Anyone that's born here in America, went back to the continent where their family was from, should they call themselves American Island, American Poland, American Chinese? Should they do this? If you was born in this land, clear cut and dry, you are American. Your origin is from where your ancestors come from. And if you want to get technical, if you want to say the word origin, then everybody should be saying African plus whatever country your families reside in. Point blank. That's what we all should be doing. But to adopt African American, to me, it is senseless and it's a waste of time. Because I don't need to identify myself to be an African American. I can identify myself by saying my origin, where I come from hundreds of years ago, is African, if you will. And even using the word African is completely wrong, because we're using African from a Roman general who conquered Kush or Ethiopia, one of the names we decided to call in the African continent, quote unquote, using that word. This is how crazy this really is. So we just follow names that they give us and follow whatever they give us and just keep on moving. But only melanin people have to continue on adopting names after names after names after names. We were called niggers, we were called blackie, we were called spooks, we was called all these names till one day Jesse Jackson says, hey, we are African American. And then they decided to adopt it. We're talking about the white supremacist people or the white public politicians. And then slowly but surely the name, it started sticking. Not too many people really call themselves African American. A lot of people don't do that. But this is what now the public eye, Hollywood and the politics, oh, African Americans, because it's an easy identification to be able to identify you. It's easy. They realize they can identify you now by separating you from American. See, you get all these Americans here. So if I go, well, he's an American. That American did this. That American did that. It's easier now to separate you by not using a color code text, but saying African American that gives you identity, but you separated yourself to a degree. Pay attention, everyone. And now they do that American Chinese, American Japanese. They'll start to label people more and more and more. Now, if you accept that shit, you just as guilty. So, think about what I'm saying. This is Chocolate AMUN-RA. You was born here in America. Stop adopting names that don't belong to you. Your origin, hundreds of years ago, is from Ethiopia or Kush. And if you want to call it African, Africa, because all they did was took Afrikaner's name and broke it down and used it. But what's so funny, people in Africa, so many people in Africa, quote unquote, don't even call themselves Africans. They call themselves by the region they was born. Congo, Syria, Libya. Imagine that. That's something to think about, y'all. Peace.